On September 10, 2025, Charlie Kirk was assassinated at a speaking event at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. A suspect, Tyler Robinson, age 22, was later charged with aggravated murder and other associated offenses. In the ensuing months, Erika Kirk gave her first televised in-depth interview on the Fox News program hosted by Jesse Watters, discussing her husband's death, her faith, her new role in the organization he founded, Turning Point USA, and her reaction to the criminal investigation and legal process. One of the notable moments in the interview came when Watters asked a pointed question. Has the FBI got the killer of Charlie Kirk? The question was framed to address public concern and speculation about the status of the investigation, the role of federal law enforcement, and whether justice was being actively pursued. Erika's response was nuanced. She expressed confidence in the process, but also emphasized other values: transparency, faith, and the legacy of her husband. The question: has the FBI got the killer? In the interview, Watters asked Erika whether she believed that the killer of Charlie Kirk had been identified and caught, and explicitly whether the FBI was involved and had the person in custody. According to a summary of the interview, Kirk said she trusted the investigation into Charlie Kirk's murder when Watters asked her whether she believed her husband's killer had been. So, while the question referenced the FBI, Erika did not dwell on naming the FBI or detailing exactly how the investigation was conducted. Instead, she framed her response around trust in the justice system and her commitment to transparency. Erika's response and its tone. Erika's response can be broken into several key elements: trust in law enforcement, transparency of the forthcoming trial, her personal stance on justice, and her faith-grounded outlook. Trust in the investigation. Erika conveyed that she believed the investigation had identified and charged the suspect. She did not explicitly say the FBI has him or they are done. Rather, she emphasized that she knew what the case is built on, that she had access to information via counsel and investigators, and therefore she felt confident in proceeding. For example, in the interview she said, "There's nothing to hide. I know there's not because I've seen what the case is built on." This suggests that while she may not publicly detail all sources, she trusts the investigative process and is comfortable that the responsible individual have been identified. Call for transparency and cameras in court. A major element of her response was a public-facing call for transparency in the legal proceedings. Erika insisted that cameras should be allowed in the courtroom during the trial of the accused. She argued, "There were cameras all over my husband when he was murdered. We deserve to have cameras in there. Why not be transparent?" Her tone here signals that her concern is not only about the identification of the killer, but about the public witnessing justice being done. It reflects a belief that public scrutiny and openness strengthen accountability. Personal and faith-based stance on justice. Beyond the question of arrest and custody, Erika spoke of what justice meant for her personally. She has publicly stated that she opposes her taking personal vengeance and that such decisions should be left to the government. In context of whether the killer is caught and what comes next, she said, "The decision of the death penalty should be made by the government. I want the government to decide this. I do not want that man's blood on my ledger." Though this line was from prior interviews or memorial remarks, it aligns with her response here, that the law enforcement side, FBI or local police, and prosecutor's office are the proper channels, and her role is faith, family, and legacy. Focus on legacy, mission, and moving forward. In her answer to Watters, Erika didn't just dwell on the criminal case. She pivoted to how her husband's legacy will continue through Turning Point USA, how she is stepping into leadership, and how the family is coping. The question of, has the FBI got the killer, becomes secondary to her narrative of purpose, faith, and responsibility. A summary of the interview notes that among the topics were her stepping into the CEO role at TPUSA, and her belief that Charlie's mission is not over. Erika's response to the question about the FBI, or law enforcement, has several broader implications. Public perception of justice and closure. By saying she trusts the investigation, she signals to the public and to Charlie's supporters that the case is being handled, which is important for emotional closure and legitimacy. For a widely publicized assassination of a public figure, the question of, is the suspect in custody? Is justice being done? Looms large. Her reassurance adds a credible voice to that process. Transparency and media messaging. Her emphasis on cameras in court underscores a shift in how high-profile cases are perceived, not just as legal matters, but as public narratives. She is essentially saying the public has witnessed the killing, videos, phones, and so the public should be allowed to observe the trial. This ties into her earlier comments about people enjoying watching that video and her decision not to watch it. Legal versus moral justice. Her faith-based stance, leaving the decision of whether the death penalty is sought to the state, highlights a separation between legal justice and personal forgiveness. She implies that the investigation and arrest are one dimension, handled by law enforcement, while her personal role is to forgive, carry on the mission, and avoid becoming consumed by vengeance. Leadership transition and resilience. The question about the killer could have distracted from the fact that she is now leading TPUSA, but she uses the moment to recenter the narrative. Yes, the law enforcement side is being handled. Meanwhile, the movement her husband led must continue. In this light, the interview becomes less about the crime and more about the aftermath, legacy, movement, and values. I trusted the investigation. I know what the case is built on. We deserve to have cameras in there. We know there were cameras when my husband was murdered. Transparency matters. I never saw the video of the murder. I never will see it. There are certain things you see that mark your soul. On prosecutors and death penalty, I want the government to decide this. I do not want that man's blood on my ledger.